Welcome back to the Purpose Fitness Times Nutrition podcast. And today on this episode, we're joined with IFBB athlete and also Purpose Nutrition sponsored athlete, Jaiden Velt.
Thanks, man.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, thanks, man. I'm keen.
All right. So today, guys, we're going to talk everything about Jaiden. So I'll hand it back over to Jaiden so he can give a bit of a background. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, how'd you get into the fitness industry, into bodybuilding, and, you know, where are you at now in terms of the fitness industry and career?
Well, I mean, right now, full-time coaching, absolutely loving it as well. Currently on prep, about 13 weeks out today, actually.
Going quick.
Yeah, going quick. So, pretty close to flipping the switch. But yeah, got into the industry when I was 18, ex-athlete, and basically just started up gym like every other young dude. Want to look a bit better, want to put on a bit more muscle, and then it always just goes from there.
Yeah. And have you always lived up here in the Gold Coast, Brisbane area?
Yeah. So I was north Brisbane. I've always been about an hour north of Brisbane. Born there, lived there my whole life, and then I was in the Goldie in 2021. Came down just to be closer to coach and the industry and everything like that, and then just rental market was so bad, so we went back up. So yeah, still back at north of Brisbane now.
Yeah, for sure. So always lived up here. So when you were up in Brisbane, obviously born and bred, what was the first gym that we attended?
Anytime Fitness Caboolture.
I think we all started at Anytime Fitness, hey?
Yeah. It was it was like right next to my school. So I was able to, once I got my license, I just went back there. Used to train with a mate, and you just fucking go in and do a bunch of random stuff. Try and do every exercise you can think of. You're like, oh, it's chest day. I'll do every single chest exercise that I know. And then, that was like, it was so small. But I thought it was great for back then. And then, bounced around. You always find better gym here, better gym there, and you keep progressing until you find your favorite place.
Yep. And where is your favorite place?
Right now, back up where I am is at Riggs. So, like I'm sure a lot of the people out there have seen now that Riggs has opened up there. So Scotty, Fleet, and a few others have opened up a basically bodybuilding style gym, just their own private place where they handpicked all the equipment that they wanted for themselves to be able to prep out of, and open it up to the public. And it's just really good place. So now I'm really close with those owners, and we train up there most days now. So that's where I'm based at the moment. I work out of World Gym Brendale, but do most of my training out of Riggs.
Yeah, sure. So obviously 13 weeks out. So obviously I know, but you've changed coaches this year. New coach. How's that all going for you?
Yeah, it's going really well, man. A bit different being with one of the American guys now. I think I started in the absolute perfect place, starting with Sam when I was 20, and just learning. I really needed him at that time, being young. Like, he really got me in line. He was a good friend, but he also like put his foot down and made me mature up. You know what I mean? And now that I have a bit more knowledge and stuff as well, just trying something else, seeing what it's like with the guys in America. Bit different approach. Those guys they're quite old school as well, especially Justin being, he was also coached by Harney, so he has a lot of experience there that he's applied as well. But those guys are all old school. They love super high protein and all their structure and all their protocols and stuff like that. So it's been interesting to see that side of what it was like, and I'm able to take stuff away from that as well, and potentially even use some of that or apply some of it to some of my clients sometimes as well.
Well, it's all about knowledge. We kind of spoke about that last week on our podcast with Corey around sort of mindset and environment settings. Where you have like a plant, have this tree. I think you described it as the oak tree, and it starts off really small in a really small plot, and as it grows, you need to keep changing that environment. And like you said with Sam, at the point in time that you're in your current environment, it was everything you needed. But unfortunately, 100%. Sometimes we outgrow those environments. and now you're onto bigger and better things.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it's like outgrown. It's just more of like a, checking other stuff out sort of thing. Just getting as much perspectives as I can, I guess.
That's what you need.
Yeah.
You never know unless you try, and that's a good thing. So, I guess in your experience as a coach, and then obviously working with Sam, now working with Justin, what has been the biggest difference? Have you noticed much difference? Because obviously every coach has something different. Is there something that you've gone, since transferring, and you've just gone, wow, or you've picked up and you've gone, I never knew that before?
I think. I don't think there's been a lot of massive changes, as Sam's quite old school himself as well. I think Justin just had a lot less, being a top pro and having I'd say most likely a lot more clients. Like, he has well over 100 people that he deals with as well. He has a lot less, I'd say, like maintenance with you, a lot less care almost. Not that he doesn't care, but he's just like, you're a fucking athlete. This is the shit. Do it kind of thing. Where Sam's was a bit more supportive in terms of like understanding you as a person and what you need and stuff like that. And like, we became good friends, but I'm sure I'll build that relationship more with Justin as well. But he's very much like, plan, go, do it. Like, don't care what's going on. If there's an issue, figure it out. Like, this is your shit. You're a seasoned athlete. Just do it.
Self-sufficient.
Kind of yeah, that's right. And honestly, like, I do enjoy that as well, because I'm like, I don't really need to be handheld. I don't really need to be handheld anyway. And in the later stages of being with Sam, it was like that too. Like, it was just like, here's your thing, go do it, kind of thing. But I'd say the training volume was a big hit to me when I started. So the amount, like, the structured difference. So Sam would usually have us on some type of plan, and that would last a while, and we'd keep progressing on that. Where for Justin would be sending me like a 6-week sort of block, and it'd be like starting at like fucking 30 reps, fucking sets and stuff like that, like real high volume for the first few weeks, and then it was broken down, and then doing a few weeks at like everything for like 4 reps. So that was just different type of structure. With Sam, it was basically the same thing for longer periods of time, and we just focus on progression with that one program kind of thing. But I still applied that myself with a lot of my clients, as they are. Most of them are, I guess, beginner or not experienced, not as seasoned. So with those guys, I'm usually keeping them on a program for quite a longer period of time, as opposed to changing it regularly. So yeah,
It's cool. Yeah, it's always interesting to hear how other people go with other different coaches. Australian industry in the fitness game is very different compared to overseas. So,
that's right. I think the food as well. Every season's different, every prep's different. But last season, just the way that things worked after season B getting cancelled because of COVID, and then rebounded into doing the season A shows, we were very carb focused in our food. So, I was doing 1,100 grams of carbs a day, and protein was around 300-ish kind of thing, and that's what we were pushing. But this time, with the same overall calories, like, getting up close to that 7,000 sort of mark, like I was sitting around 6.5-ish, maybe just above. It was still only like 700-ish grams of carbs, and it was like, we're pushing now like into prep, 500 to 600 grams of protein. Like, it's a fucking lot of protein.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's fucking over 2 kilos of meat a day. It's a lot.
The budget.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. Yeah, steak and mince, and there's a lot of fucking beef, bro. Yeah. So that was the biggest shock into prep now, because like last prep in April, a year ago now, fucking that was, man, 350 grams of carbs was what I did my prep on, and like I was peeled on that. And then, those last couple of weeks you push it down a little bit harder, but majority of my prep till like 4 weeks out, I was on like 350 grams of carbs, so it was plenty. But now I feel like it's definitely not going to be like that. I think I'm going to notice the biggest changes between coaches during the prep, as Sam got us ready early, and then you sort of just play with that line of feeding us up, letting us get flat, feeding us up, and you just play with that line. But I feel like Justin's very much kept me big. Like I haven't dropped my food yet from off season, and we're fucking 13 weeks out. So I'm still high food, like nothing's changed yet. And then, but I think as of next week or in the next couple of weeks, it's going to start to drop down hard. I feel like he's going to be suffering harder and then just pull back up.
Yeah,
I think that's what's going to end up playing out. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how the final look looks.
Yeah. I'm definitely keen to see it. I guess as another thing is with Sam, we'd sort of forecast what we're going to do. Where for Justin, it's like I never know what's fucking coming. It's like I send the check-ins, and it's like I just wait for the word back, and then I do it, kind of thing. With with Sam, I had a bit more of an idea of what was going to play out.
I think obviously also from a coaching background is like you've had that time and experience with Sam as well. So, your physique and what you guys do is a bit more predictable.
Yeah, that's right.
Whereas, for example, like Justin, he has never worked with you on a prep before.
Yeah,
so
he doesn't have a clue.
To give you a forecast, you might be different, but, we sometimes don't give forecasts to clients because
100%.
they hold on to it and then you change with a little thing and it's a meltdown.
Yeah.
So it's just like...
yeah.
And you don't want that in the prep. And us males, coming close to prep, we're a bit more emotional than the bloody female. So
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. 100%. So, yeah.
All in our area.
I'm quite vague when I'm giving, plans to my clients about like what we're gonna happen. I was like, we'll lean up a little bit and then we'll just get you recomped and then we'll start to and they're like, oh yeah, how many weeks? And we're like, we'll see. Like
just do the work.
Yeah. Just let's stick with what we're doing for now and then I'll make the call. But yeah. I'm not going to say we're going to...
False promises.
Yeah, I'm not going to say we're going to recomp for 4 weeks and then bounce up because, everyone's individual response is so different. It's like if, 4 weeks' time, there'd be like a kilo down and I'm like, well, man, like, we can't yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it all comes down. And again, execution's a big thing too.
Yeah, that's right. You don't actually know what someone's doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly. Now, obviously, that's all things about comp prep, stuff like that. And obviously, I have I'm very fortunate to be able to sponsor you.
Yes.
Into this prep this year. Obviously, don't boast me up, but do you want to tell sort of people, what is it like to be a sponsored athlete with us? You can be honest on this podcast. I preach honesty on this podcast. Yeah. Give me criticism. But, share what it's like, as a sponsored athlete, as a generalized term, what it's like to also work with us as a company. Because I think a lot of people don't really know exactly what we do or what we stand for. They probably just think we're just another supplement company.
Yeah.
So, what is it like to be on the inside? Is it what it seems to be? And then obviously, what do you see for yourself in the future?
Yeah, man, like honestly, it's being sponsored, being with like first time ever actually being sponsored properly. When you're 18 and everyone sends you those messages like, oh, we want to sponsor you. And it's like just buy $300 worth of product first and then we'll give you a code. So, everyone gets excited when they see those when they're 18 years old. But, being sponsored for the first time for real is actually really, really nice. Very helpful. Like knowing that I have a reliable source to come to get help with, and not just with supplements and stuff that I need to make sure my health's in check, but, to come to you being a coach as well for almost anything. If I need advice on anything or what I'm doing or anything like that, like I know that I have that even second opinion there as well can be very helpful. It helps that we're mates as well. But I'm sure that, all the guys that you sponsor, you have that sort of close relationship with anyway, because that's what, you want the whole company to be about. You've always stated that the company's about being a community, being a family kind of thing. And yeah, it's very clear that we all have that support from one another as well. We all, Nick as well, we're all very close. So I think that's very important as well. But yeah, I definitely think that being on the inside is so much more than what it actually seemed, because even before I did consider when you approached me to potentially come on board and we had a chat, even before then, I didn't fully understand what you guys did at all either. So to actually be with a company that focuses on understanding everything you're doing as an athlete, training, food, protocols, other supplements, cardio, sleep, everything that you're doing, understanding all that, and then being able to prescribe the right supplements that are going to benefit you the most based around what you're doing. I don't think anyone else is doing that, and I didn't really understand that you guys did that fully either before I considered coming on board, and I'm very glad that I did, because I very, very much enjoy not being bound to a specific brand. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to be with a company and just go, yeah, this brand of they make the best aminos and pre-workout and protein and fucking, because they don't, right? Like, no one company just makes the best fucking everything. And that's why I'm really glad that you guys, have all the brands that you've handpicked to decide that these are the best for high-performing athletes. And that was really what I wanted, because I'm like, man, I don't actually like one specific company that much that I'm like, I just want to take all their products for everything. So that was, learning about that was, and understanding that that's what you guys do was a massive, massive selling point to me coming on board. And morally, it feels better as well. It makes me a better coach, because I'm not just like, oh yeah, I'm sponsored by fucking this random company that makes all these subs. Go buy their greens and their protein and their aminos and their pre-workout and their fucking go buy all their shit. It's like, no, I can then do what you do as a company and go, cool, what's all this stuff? What's your training? What's your diet? What's your cardio that I've written up? Cool, this is what I've got. So these are supplements that are going to work. Purpose has all these things that are the best for athletes. These are the supplements that you should have. And so that's made me able to be a better coach because of that as well. So I'm not just, like I said, I'm not just going one company, take all their stuff, because I morally, I don't like that very much either. And I feel like a sellout doing that. But I feel like I'm able to be very authentic still, being a part of this and doing it your way.
Yeah, which is exactly what we promised from the get-go.
Yeah.
To maintain authenticity.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's something that we preach a lot, is within the companies, that authenticity. If you're not real, then it's a short time and people will see through it.
Yeah, that's right, man. Like, the amount of people that I've seen, like influencers, stuff like that do their online coaching, whatever, and they prescribe like one fucking company, whatever it is. Yeah, get their greens and get their fucking literally all these things. I'm like, man, like, if I was a client and I got that, I'd be like, all right, you just want money. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be like, yeah, sure, you really want me to take all those things from this one company. It's like, right, you're just doing this because you have to, kind of thing. You're just telling me to take this shit because that's what your contract is.
Yeah.
But I'm actually able to, I won't tell someone to get a supplement if they don't need it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not getting guys who are in their peak off season. I don't necessarily need to come and tell them to get all their cortisol support and stuff like that if it's not necessary. But I have those options there, and then I have multiple options for every category for all my clients.
And in turn, it makes you a better coach as well.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what I mean. So that's, that's a massive, massive benefit to it for sure.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Appreciate the honesty. Obviously, it's been a pleasure having you on board, and obviously now we've got Nick as well. So it's and that's another great thing, is we share the same values, missions, as a company and as individuals, so we can move forward and hopefully preach the right message.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to hear that you didn't understand what we stood for from the outside before you were on the inside.
Yeah, no, I really didn't. And so I didn't understand as well that you actually did consults with, with either current customers or new customers. Like, I feel like that's a massive difference that I've never even heard any supplement company do that before. But the fact that you actually sit down with anyone who's looking at getting a bunch of supplements for themselves and optimizing their health and their performance, the fact that you'll sit down with them, go over everything, like that's huge. And I didn't realize that happened until I was on the inside as well. So that's a massive, massive change.
Yeah, it's a hard thing as a company. We even say the same thing. It's like, how do we preach this out more? But our values are authenticity can't be marketed.
Yeah,
it's a slow game. It's a referral side. So the more people that experience what we're about, the more people they refer, and that's kind of how we go. So and then if we market it, then people copy.
Yeah, and that's right. And that it's working as well because like people are noticing the authenticity because once I explained all that to my clients as well, once I was like, hey guys, this is why I've told you to take these supplements and actually these specific brands. Yes, you can find them all from Purpose because, and I explained who you are, your background, your education, that you've handpicked everything. That's why I've said for you to take these. We're not biased to one brand. We're biased to optimizing your performance and health. And they really, really appreciated that. Like all my clients have responded well to being like, oh, cool, that's really good. Like that's really smart. I'm not just being like told to take this fucking, random thing because you're signed with them.
Yeah, and take X amount of photos.
Yeah. yeah.
That's good. Now, obviously, with the future, what do you see for yourself in the next couple of years, next year?
In terms of everything?
Yeah, everything. Talk about like your business, where do you see yourself heading with that? Are you going to maintain it there? Are you going to more transition over to rigs? Are you going to go more onto online? Are you going to go global?
I think I'm going to end up being online. I'm already sort of humming and hawing about that now. I didn't even really mean it to be that way. Like I expected to, be in the gym all day, grinding away, doing sessions, moving to people online, doing online where I can kind of thing. But my online has just been what everyone's sort of migrated to anyway. Because I'm really fortunate that a lot of the guys that I have aren't like they're beginners in bodybuilding, but they're not beginners in fitness. You know what I mean? So no, they haven't competed or they've done one show or something like that, but they've been, training for years kind of thing. So they don't need their hand held as much, in terms of showing them how to train. They know how to train. So I've been very fortunate to be able to actually have athletes already. So they only need the online coaching anyway.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's what's going to end up happening anyway. I'm seeing out this prep honestly and seeing what, how much I grow from this prep. We always get a bit more attention when we're in prep and stuff like that. So, and then after the shows, you always do well. So in business, so I'm going to see what comes of everything after this prep, and then I'll decide if I want to keep doing some in-person stuff or if I just want to transition all to online. But I can see that happening very soon, and then just staying that way. In terms of bodybuilding, I'm going to try and take a bit of a longer off season next time. I think I'm at the place where I'm good enough to be competing, every year. I don't need the really long off seasons, but just do that like 18-month difference, from like season A to season B the next year, where it's still competing every year, but you're just taking that jump between the seasons, as opposed to doing, because I feel like even this year I was making good progress. I was moving, but I didn't get enough time to do a real off season. Like, we finished in April. I was sort of doing my own thing. Like it was end of April, so I was like May. First week of May is like your rebound, and then May and June you're just fucking fluffing about, like trying to get back to health and stuff like that. And then June I started training seriously again. I started pushing it a bit more, doing my own food, stuff like that. Started with Justin in August, and then I got August to December. So it's like I got 4 months out, and it's like, fuck, we gotta start prepping. So 4 months of an actual off season is not a lot of time to put on enough tissue, So taking
substantial.
Yeah, that's right. So taking that little bit of time off and maybe get things kicking again in June, July, and then having until the next July to actually push, will give me that little bit more time where I think I'll actually be able to be in contention. Then at the end of 2024, where I can really push for an overall at that time. The end of 2024, I think that's what I'll be really pushing for then. Obviously, we go in every show to win anyway. We always going to do our best, but this year my goal is to be better than last year. 2024, obviously, still be better than what it will be in this show, but I think that'll be my first sort of serious contention for an overall that year.
It'll be exciting. But yeah, the good breaks. The 18 months is where I find the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Before COVID.
That's
the typical cycle that we would run on. It gives you enough time to focus on external. So that could be relationships, business, whatever, just getting back to life, whilst also obviously applying a serious off season, but it brought back happiness. You know,
Yeah, that's right.
bit of that balance and get back your head game and then obviously then you do the strong preps again.
Yeah, that's right. Because I feel like we didn't even really get the time during COVID as well. So I feel like I've never actually taken a very prolonged off season. Like in 2020, you know, because you were there with me as well when our shows got cancelled for Arnold's, and you know, we weren't really training again until fucking like September, really. Like we had like fucking almost 6 months off because like all the gyms are fucking closed.
Just trying to take the pantry out.
Yeah. And then we then we got going again, and it was like, you know, we started fucking, you know, end of 2020, and then you're only going till mid 2021 until I started prepping for season B.
Yeah,
so it was like
season A was the very quiet. I don't even think season A went ahead
for 2021.
Yeah, because it was that quiet.
I think it did.
It's just a very
because that's when Brad won his pro card. I'm pretty sure.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
it was a very, very small show.
Yeah. Because I think everyone was worried it was going to get cancelled, so no one wanted to commit. And then it went ahead, and everyone was like, "Fuck yeah, cool. Let's commit to season B." Everyone was going for season B.
Season B was massive.
And then seven weeks out, they pull it. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. So, yeah. So again, I had really 6 months of a growth season, like a serious one, until we had to pull that back and start prepping. And then I had a really good rebound after that show that took me through to April, which I was lucky about. But yeah, then again, like I've said now, like a very minor off season. So it'll be good to actually, you know, try and pump out 12 months worth of growth. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really hard. I think a lot of people on the outside who aren't seasoned competitors that do, you know, the 18 or 12 month or even the 6 months off seasons, time goes so quick.
So fucking quick.
And when it comes to putting on muscle, time is the key.
Yeah, you need it. Yeah.
And if you don't have the time, and like, for example, with COVID and all the interruptions of shows being cancelled, you know, especially if you're prepping, you're losing optimal time for growth. Yep. So like the last, 2 years has been an up and down roller coaster for a lot of athletes, especially males. Bikini girls, you know, they can put on a couple 100 grams of muscle quite easily. You know, they don't need as much stimulus as us males.
Yep.
But, you know, for a male to be competitive in the overall titles, you're looking at 5-10 kilos in off-season to be applied.
Yeah, you need to. Yeah, that's right. And
with 6 months, 12 months, it's a very hard goal to try and achieve.
Yeah, that's right. So like even between the start of 2020 and then the start of 2022, because of all the disruption stuff, I think I was only about 5 kilos up on stage weight either. And like I'm a bit weird that my weight doesn't really move much ever. But then yeah, you know, if I can be another couple kilos up now, and then by the end of 2024 aim for that, you know, 5 to 10 range, that'll be a big improvement there. But yeah, I think like you're 100% right. It's you really need that time to put on the muscle. Like it takes so fucking long, and people don't realize. You don't realize it when you're young as well, because you change so quick. Like so, even when I was like 18 and we were prepping for that show, I was 18, fucking, we were 20, 21 prepping for those Arnold's, and that was my first ever prep, and I was like, fuck, I look crazy kind of thing, you know what I mean? I was like, I'd been with Sam for like 6 months. I was like, man, I'm growing so fast. Like, if I keep growing at this rate, like, holy shit. And you do kind of keep growing at that rate, but you don't develop the maturity yet. So it's like, you can grow, and you will grow. When you're 18 to 22, you will still grow fast, but it just will not translate to looking the same because you just don't have that maturity. And no matter how hard you lift, no matter how hard you train, no matter how heavy you go, you're not going to build that maturity the same way as someone who's been doing it for fucking 5 years longer than you. Yeah. And it's and you can tell on stage.
And you look at most of the young people that are getting overall titles or professional pro cards. They've been doing it for about 10 years.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's such a long fucking sport. I was talking to when I was training with Sam the other day, I was talking to him about it then. Like, people really, really underestimate like how long this shit takes. Like, you can't expect to be a good bodybuilder before you're fucking like early to mid 30s. People see these guys and glorify people like fucking Derek Lunsford and shit who were like 26, 27, and like, Chris Bumstead is his first Olympia at fucking 23 or whatever. And it's like, yeah, that's sick. He's also 100 and something kilos versus 120 for starters. But yeah, it's so different especially when it gets to the opens. Like, people like Brandon Curry won the Olympia, but he was a pro for 13 years before he won the Olympia. and he was a fucking nobody. You know what I mean? Rami was a fucking nobody for years and years before he won the Olympia. Hardy as well. I actually posted a photo on my story of Hardy when it was 13 years ago, and he was stacked, man. Like 13 years ago, he would have easily cleaned up an Australian amateur show and got a pro card. Like, it wouldn't even be fucking a question. And that was 13 years before he actually ended up, you know, getting the achievement that he wanted. But yeah, so it's like you can't plan to be good before your mid-30s if you're interested in professional bodybuilding.
Yeah, and it's more so like, I will touch on that. Like you say, it's, you know, a bit of an unachievable goal. The same thing is you got to apply yourself for those years.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So
it's
like,
not just
saying it's unachievable. Don't now psych yourselves out and go, oh, I'll just take my time. You need to still apply yourself as if you're going to try and get it tomorrow.
Yeah. That's not.
Be prepared for the long game.
Yeah, that's not 10 years of 10 years of just going to the gym and doing some fucking workouts. That's 10 years of like training with fucking insane urgency,
intensity, execution, discipline,
everything perfect every day for 10 years, and then you have the potential to be good, maybe.
Possibly, we'll see.
I am a big believer though in like, I don't want people to steer away, because I'm a massive believer in like anyone can be good. Like 100%. I'm huge on like, especially in bodybuilding, and that's why I fell in love with bodybuilding. Being an ex-athlete, especially with what I was doing, it's all genetic. Like, you can train a little bit, get a bit better, but it's like if you don't have the genetics, then sorry, you suck. Like, simple as that. You can't outwork your genetics. But I feel like that's why I fell in love with bodybuilding, because it was like I feel like anyone can at least turn pro. Like, if you apply yourself for that long and seriously work that hard, I feel like anyone could at least get a pro card.
Genetics aside, though, you know, the formula of fat loss and muscle gain, everyone can apply it.
Yeah, that's right. So simple. Yeah.
So, you know, if you can consistently show up and accumulate muscle tissue over and over, you might not look the best compared to, you know, the Olympians. But
that's right. Yeah.
Still develop and, you know, build a great physique.
To me, genetics, obviously, the genetics is like, there's so many different genetic things. Like, obviously, there's your response to certain things internally. There's, you know, your rate at which you can put on muscle, your rate at which you can get lean, the amount of fat you hold in the off season. Like, there's so many things that come down to genetics. But I feel like in bodybuilding, like, the things that will play the biggest difference is just your genetic shape and structure. But like you just said, the actual methods of putting on muscle and fat loss, like, anyone can apply that, and anyone can get big. You might not get big as easy as someone else, but anyone can apply that, do that, become that. And yeah, you might not be as pretty, but anyone can sort of achieve that size if you really, really work.
Exactly, yeah. It just depends on how bad you want it. Yeah,
that's right. And like, it's not any easier for the people that do have good genetics. Like, it's really not. It's most of the time, like 99% of the time, having good genetics in bodybuilding just comes down to your fucking shape. And it's not any easier for them to put on muscle, really, unless you're fucking Callum. That's the only person who puts on muscle. That's the only person who puts on muscle easy, right? Other than that, you
guys aren't aware, Callum Hins, everyone.
Yeah, and like, obviously he's hard as fuck working, but he's the only one that I've really seen where it's like, that's genetic. You know what I mean? Where it's like, you know, okay, he put on 30 kilos in a year. That's genetic. You know what I mean? Like, that's a genetic response to putting on muscle. No one else does that I've ever seen. So it's like, genetics, when it comes to putting on muscle, forget it. Don't psych yourself out because you think someone might have better genetics to put on muscle. Your genetics aren't the best for putting on muscle. Shut up. Just work.
Just put the work in and prepare for the long game. Stop playing the short game.
Yeah, that's right. 100%. Yes.
So that takes us into the next thing. You know, we're looking at more so the long game, and there's a lot of different expectations when people enter this sport. As a young, you know, up and coming bodybuilder yourself, and someone who's been through it, done it, been with coaches, you know, and now also coaching young bodybuilders. That's typically your market now, is, you know, the young bodybuilding market.
Yeah.
What's your advice to people who are, you know, young, or anyone in general, but I want to specifically target, because I have a lot of concerns as a coach myself, is with this younger clientele coming through, aspiring to be bodybuilders. There's a lot of ignorance.
Yeah.
There's a lot of don't care factor. And there's a lot of, I guess, the exposure to what's available right now is very different to what it was 5-10 years ago. So as a coach, as someone who's done it, who's now been through it, walked through it, had coaches. What's your advice to these young guys that are coming through?
I'm actually quite proud, especially of my guys, at the level of care they have towards their health, and towards doing things the right way. A lot of them came to me for that reason. I've sort of marketed myself for having, correct things in play for PD usage and having your, health in check, doing things the right way, not doing all this fucking, as much sort of, I guess you call it like bro protocols and fucking all this dumb shit that we very much know now from an educational standpoint is outdated. And that's why a lot of the guys have come to me. So I'm very proud of them for being that way. I'm seeing a lot more care just in that side of things. But I guess the advice I'd have to give would be, no matter what position you think you're in, you should get a coach. If you're interested in bodybuilding, I don't give a fuck how good you think you are or how bad you think you are. Just get one. Like, I put off getting one for years because I thought I wasn't good enough. I thought, I'm not experienced, I'm not good enough. Why would a coach want to coach me, kind of thing? Like, I'm not a fucking bodybuilder or whatever. But it was easily the best decision I've ever made in my life. Was starting with Sam when I did, because that just completely changes your entire mindset on everything. And if you want to do a show, you want to get into bodybuilding specifically, not just the art of it and training and looking a certain way, but actual competing, then, take the time, put on the muscle, but commit to a show and fucking do it. Because after you do a show, your whole world is different. Your life completely changes, and your perspective on bodybuilding will be completely different. Have an open mind, listen to your coach, trust him, and really learn how to train. When I started with Sam, we started training together a little bit as well. And I'm trying to, we're trying to train hard, right? So we're always trying to lift heavy and push ourselves and shit like that. And I remember lifting, like, he'd do his set and I'd jump on, do the set straight after him, and then after the set he looks at me, he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Why do you think you could just lift the same weight that I did?" He's like, "I'm fucking 130 kilos. You're 90. Like you're skinny, right? Like, fucking, like, you know what I mean?" And I'm like,
get back in your place.
And I was actually like, "Oh, you're right. Like, that 100% makes sense. Why the fuck would I be able to do that?" He's like, "Don't you think if you're doing this and I'm doing this, you're doing something wrong?" And I'm like, yeah, cool. And that, like, after that, again, like, training completely leveled up. When you actually understand execution of exercise, like, once you understand that and you commit to that, that will completely change, again, your complete look of your physique. That's probably the biggest advice that I'd give to these guys. And yeah, just don't get caught up in the fucking whole Instagram life. As nice as it is, you realize it's fucking bullshit when you get a bit older, and, like, it's just not. None of those guys are fucking tough. Like none of those guys train hard. None of those guys, like, they're not bodybuilders. The better you get, the more you realize there's a massive discrepancy between like bodybuilding and then the guys just in the fitness influencer industry and stuff like that. There's a massive difference. And, it looks nice and it's pretty. But if you want to be a bodybuilder, they just don't end up matching, I feel like you have to choose a path along there. And, if you want to go down that road, that's cool. But if you want to be a bodybuilder, you're going to have to go a different way, I'd say, most of the time.
Yeah, you often get distracted.
Unless you, be that type of, like, an influencer by being a bodybuilder, by being a good bodybuilder and a coach and being educational and stuff like that, that's great. But I'd say, I'm just saying this from my past experiences and, like, mistakes that I made. Like, I definitely pushed when I was younger that, like, I just wanted to look good for social media. Like, in terms of, like, I didn't focus on how I could look better physically. I focused more on just how I could take better photos. You know what I mean? It's like, you do what you can, but unfortunately, it does just take time to build a good physique.
Yeah. So you would also say that, limit the focus on other people's opinions.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big thing. I know that's super fucking hard when you're young. We all even struggle with it now. Sometimes it never really gets away fully. But you just get better at it as you're older, and you realize that. Especially again, that's a massive part of competing. Once you compete, you then get surrounded by people who want the exact same things as you, and then you really start to, level up your mindset and understand what really matters. And fucking, you get away from all the half-assed people out there who are, in the industry, and you get surrounded by bodybuilders. And then I feel like that just levels up all parts of your journey itself as well. Like, man, for me it did, at least. Like, the way my fucking life changed after I did my first show. I met you guys, everyone else who was competing there, the other juniors, the fucking, even getting to know some of the open guys. That, you just form those connections, you network, and the amount of opportunities that open from that is huge. That's why I'm like, a lot of people, like a lot of my clients, if they're like, hey man, I'd love to compete eventually, but I just don't think I'm going to be good enough for the next 2 to 3 years. I was like, man, how many people go into the shows just to give it a fucking crack? Like, the amount of people that go in, like, yeah, sure, if you want to be a pro one day, or you really want to take this seriously, then that's great. We will take the time to do shows. Like, you're not going to fucking turn pro, but let's just get you in there and fucking do a show. You've been training for a few years, you look fine, providing that they do have some type of physique, then it's like, let's just jump in, man. You're not going to win, no, but let's, like, you're not going to get a pro card, but no, let's fucking do the show. It'd be good fun.
Good experience, get off your shoulders.
Yeah, people don't realize you can't just wait till you're pro ready and then do a show and get your fucking pro card. That's not going to happen unless you're, again, a freak. Like,
typically the motivation will die too.
Yeah, that's right, man. You
lose focus.
You do lose the focus. The amount of fucking fire that starts, like, within yourself after you compete is...
Even just the prep, though, the focus.
Yeah, everything.
The routine.
Yes, that's right. And
the belly fire is insane.
It's insane, man. And, like, that's why I encourage so many people to compete. I was like, trust me, your life will be changed. Like, it's amazing. And yeah, like, people want to wait until they're good. And, like, I've had, clients say to me, I want to wait until I'm good enough to win. I was like, well, there's 150 people at the shows. In bodybuilding, there's 5 winners, 1 overall winner. Chances are you're not going to win. You know what I mean? Like, you also know that as my client, I'm doing the show. Like, if I am doing that show, then I'm like, you're also kind of versing me, like, as well. You know what I mean? So I'm like, you're not going to beat me. But
sorry, but stay back.
But you shouldn't jump into a show to fucking try and win. You know what I mean? Like unless you are, obviously getting to that stage where you're really gunning for a pro card. But, like, if you're going to be, like, if that's your only reason to compete, then, like, you need to change your mindset.
You're going to lose.
Yeah, you fucking, yes. 99.9% of people there fucking lose, right?
If you're going to, I'll go on something like that. So if you go on to win, I see it so much with our clients. I'm like, have the mentality that you're going to go in and win.
Yeah.
Because that will light the fire and that will show you
train like you want to win.
That will give dedication. But also be prepared to lose. Because losing makes you better.
Yeah.
If you win, what does it teach you?
Yeah.
It doesn't teach you anything. And the biggest thing that I see as well is, like, a lot of people go in there so close-minded on the winning because they want to impress other people. Yep. People don't care whether you win or lose. Yeah. It's a transformation.
Man.
And one of the best things I do is I don't prep. Like, obviously we want to win, but I go in there to beat myself and to win.
Yeah.
But I'm open that the fact that there's going to be better people, there's going to be bigger people.
Yep.
And then that will light a fire to come back better. But when I go in there, I use the prep to fund significant amount of motivation, discipline, routine, execution.
Yep.
And that flows through everything. When I'm in prep, it's applied through business, it's applied through friendships, like the motivation. I'm just such a good person to be around.
Yeah.
Until the final weeks.
Yeah.
But the best thing as well is you go in open-minded and you look at opportunities. Like you said, when you do prep, you get business growth.
Yeah.
After it, things thrive for you.
Yeah, thrive. Yeah.
And like you said, that first show has now led you here.
That's right. 100%.
Sponsorships, connections, networking, business. Now you're out of, the 9-to-5 jobs. Now you're doing what you love, helping other people. So, people need to change the mindset from going in from, trying to win to now looking at opportunities that they can venture off into.
Yes, I mean that's huge. That's still why I'm competing now. Half the reason, this show I'm doing now. Yes, obviously I'm going in to level up my physique, put on a few more kilos than I did last year. Come in with a better package, show myself what I can do, show everyone else what I can do. Doing it for all those opportunities as well. Man, why the fuck would I want to win this show? Let's say I win this show, get a pro card. I don't want a fucking pro card. What am I going to do with a fucking pro card? I'm tiny. What can I do with a fucking pro card? I can't do anything for 5 years now. Cool, great. Now I win a pro card, now I can't compete for 5 years because I'm too fucking small to be a pro. That's fucking shit. I don't want that. I'm going in to beat, what I did last year. There's no reason why I should, be winning a fucking overall title this show. That's fucking stupid.
And if you did, it would be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Good job.
I wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. I wouldn't feel good about it at all. I'd be like, oh man, I am too small for this. Yeah, you know what I mean? I'd accept a Queensland one, but a national one, I'd be like, I'm low key just embarrassed because it feels like not enough good people turned up.
Yeah, you want to be, competitive with the best in the world.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's what professional is about.
Yeah, 100%. No one wants to be the guy that fucking, did a fucking show and was way undersized and didn't deserve it.
I think people need to fall in love with losing and actually the evolution of becoming better.
Yeah, I feel like you do as well. Naturally, every year that I haven't won, and I have been absolutely fucking in the absolute best mood ever after I've jumped off stage. Each year, especially this year, placing in the opens while still being in junior was fucking massive for me. That to me was a huge win. And just seeing myself up there against those guys, I was so thrilled after that show. And I didn't win that class. Yeah, you're not gonna feel any better from winning unless you really, really fucking knew you deserved it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's an interesting one for a lot of the guys coming through, but we appreciate your advice. Is there anything else you want to add to the advice or recommendations to the young guys before we wrap up?
No, I'd say that's mainly it. To summarize, commit to a coach, trust him, listen, plan for a show if that's what your longer term goals are, and go into it with a good mindset. Not that you have to win or you're a fucking failure, because that's most people there. Like I just said, there's a lot of people in the shows. There's very few winners. Chances are you're not going to win, right? Don't go in with the mindset that if you don't lose, you're a failure. That's fucking stupid. I'd say that's the main points.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, 13 weeks.
Yeah,
it's going quick. I remember when we went out for dinner, and it was 20 weeks.
Yeah, that was fucking ages ago.
Feels like it was only yesterday.
Yeah.
It's going too quick, man. But to all other athletes that are listening to this that are getting ready for their competitions, whether it's the IPB, WBFF, we've got the seasons here. We've got a few athletes getting ready ourselves. So we wish yourself and we wish everyone else the best into this season. What are we? Season A. Crikey.
Yeah. Yep. Won't be long, and season B will be big too.
It's only 4-week turnaround, and then it's back into prep for season B.
Yeah, that's right. It gets fucking bigger and bigger every season, and I'm fortunate enough to have a few guys in the season B shows, and I'll actually be able to be backstage with them and fucking yeah,
it's exciting. Nothing beats being a coach, being backstage and being a part of it.
Yeah,
especially when you got that experience. But thank you so much for coming on board with us today, and hopefully everyone that's listening has taken some helpful advice, especially those younger guys coming through. Best thing, guys, is get the help. It'll pay dividends. It'll get you to where you need to go faster. And guys, make sure you give Jaiden a follow. I believe his TikTok is going quite well.
But yeah, it's pretty good. I'm happy.
But he is also
tire marketing.
Yeah, I know. I've jumped on and I was like, wow, look at him go. So, what is the TikTok for everyone that wants to follow you? J Velt?
No, Velty _IFBB. Yep.
Okay, so we've got Velty _IFBB, guys, and also on Instagram, j.velt. So, guys, make sure you jump on, give him a follow on both his accounts. They're both pure class. And guys, make sure you follow us and stay tuned for all other episodes. So thanks, Jaiden, and we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.